interesting
I think
conversation to have.
so. I really
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. Well,
Hi there. This is the new streamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
Oh, take a deep breath for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're going to talk about ways we unintentionally hurt each other.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about, as I always do, preparing for the subject in my head. I'll get out of the way that there's times when we're mad at each other, we're disappointed, we're frustrated, and we do stuff knowingly. We know we're being a butt. We know we're being bitchy or unkind. So we're not talking about that because you know how it feels. I tell people it's kind of like a candy bar. It feels really good for a moment and then you can feel crappy after, but you feel crappy because you knew you were doing something that wasn't in your best interest or their best interest. And generally it's not going to have a good outcome.
Right.
This subject is truly 100% because I know you have these conversations with your clients too. And they'll tell us, well, I did blah, blah, blah. And I don't understand why they reacted this way. And we're like, well, let me tell you how it landed.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's what this is going to be about. Because when you really don't mean to upset somebody, when you really do want to get them on your side, you want them to change their behavior, you want them to do something that's going to make you feel better, or you think you're doing something that's going to make them feel better, and you're like, why didn't that work? That's what we're talking about today. Because I know there's nobody listening or watching that hasn't had that, huh? What happened? Why did they act like that? Yeah.
Well, before we dive in, though, I want to go back to what you said before, because I totally agree with you that that's the one that we do know that about. But the thing about it, and it is like, I like the candy bar analogy, but it's that thing about the, sort of the thing when you have resentment about, taking poison, expecting the other person to die type thing, is that when we do express our wounded, upset, hurt feelings with somebody, it isn't done in a way to be received or supported. It's about just making them feel bad as well as you do.
Yeah.
It's basically it's like kind of sitting in the mud and pulling them in with you, rather than being really truly honestly asking them to help you out of it. So this conversation about the unintentional stuff is you may not realize what you're doing is the same thing, but you don't know you're doing it. So we're going to break that down and make it easy for you to become aware of it, but also to understand how you can do things differently as well, because this whole conversation is really about how do you learn to be more compassionate with yourself and your partner.
Oh, I love that word. That is really one of my favorite words. Having compassion and grace about yourself, as well as the other person. What went through my head when you were adding to your analogy is there's that saying that's so true of misery loves company. If I'm going to feel bad, I'm going to make sure you feel bad too, which is another really conscious way of doing it. Yeah.
But also sometimes people do it unconsciously because they don't realize they're feeling bad and they feel like they don't realize they're actually pulling the person in with them.
Yeah.
So it does end up being both of those things that happen at the same time as well.
So true. So true. So now that we've really defined the subject that we're talking about today, because we've certainly experienced this personally, and we've been very transparent about it, and I'm sure we will again. I know. We've never unintentionally hurt somebody.
Right.
And talk to people all the time that don't realize how intentionally they're hurting people.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be fun. We could talk about the men and women's side, about how we've been unintentionally hurt, and then what we hear from like how you would feel unintentionally hurt by a woman, and then the things that I've heard from men, and then I can tell you the things how I have felt, and then you can hear, because you have lots of women clients who say how hurt they've been. So I think one of the main ways we women feel unheard by men, or feel intentionally hurt by men, is we don't feel heard. We don't feel listened to. We feel that you don't really care. That's what it feels like to us. So the ways that happens, that is so unintentional, because you are like really doing your best, is one of the hardest things for us is when you interrupt us with the fix.
Oh, you want to talk about this one? Yeah, we can definitely go into this one. This is Alison Armstrong's one of her things I love talking about too, as you know as well. Is that sense? The fact is that the rage monster piece that she talks about in her work, and basically to break it down simply, is the fact is when a woman gets upset, and this is generic, this is generalization. Not everyone's like this, but this is the generalization is because we men are hardwired to fix things. We're troubleshooters, fixers, part of our gifts and part of our talents, also part of our curse. So when a woman's upset, we think that she's broken, so we want to fix her. So what happens is she wants to let loose and upset and do all the stuff. What we don't know, unless we do the work, is that all we need to do is shut up and listen and let it through. Not in, but through. So you get that in a second. So when woman's upset and she is venting, releasing, all that stuff's coming out, we tend to be in one of three modes trying to fix or resolve or stop it happening. Because either one, we know we have the solution, we know it's going to work. Of course, we have no idea, but we think we do. Two, we're afraid of what's going to happen, so we want to shut it down so we can run away. Or three, we don't want to deal with it. We want to shut it down just to avoid the issue. That's the main three things. So the recognition is that the way to really do it is to be the listener, as you were saying. It's like the thing that women need to oftentimes is to be heard, not fixed, not shut down, and not avoided. But so many men, and I did this, I probably did all three over my life so many times because I didn't know that this was the power. So I'm sharing this as something I had to learn the hard way, that our biggest gift we can give our women is to be present and listen, especially when they're upset.
And it's a little easier if we're upset about the traffic or our boss, and it's harder if we're upset with you.
Yes.
It takes a lot for a man to go, okay, I just need to listen. I just need to listen. I just need to listen. Even if she's totally wrong and I really didn't mean to do that and it's not what my intention was, and you've got all that going, because that's often really true, or at least half true.
Is running around inside for sure, yes.
Yes, but you can't do that. You need to let us just finish venting. We need to just get it out because we can't listen. We can't listen to anything you have to say when we're so full of emotion. There's no room in our brain, in our body. You could have the best advice, and often you really do, and you've thought about it really carefully, and you've listened to us for the first 3 seconds, and you know what the problem is, and you know what the solution is. You really, really do.
Yep.
And there's no room. And eventually, we really probably would be available to hear. So you do get your way of offering us a fix. The ticket to get there, the price you pay.
There you go, the ticket,
yeah. You just have to listen. You just have to and the thing that I tell men is, because you're so busy looking for the point, because generally there isn't, the point is just for us to keep talking because we are going to feel better. The point is to feel better by talking, not to get to the problem in a little box for you to go, oh, there's the problem. So you keep looking for the problem. You keep looking for the point, which is exhausting for your brain, because if there's no point, how are you going to find one? So I tell you, turn off your brain. Turn off the part of your brain that's looking for the point and just go, oh, okay. And you guys have those boxes in your brains that you can go to. And this is a box of, this is the box. Just bring out the box, not the problem solver box. And men have liked that analogy because they're like, oh, I get the box. I could do that box. Because you want to go to the problem solving box. That needs to stay over here closed for a while. And then when we get done, we generally are going to feel better and maybe don't even need a solution, which is let you off the hook. Or we might say, I want a solution. So to avoid this, ladies, you can talk about what the guys can do, but I'm going to talk about the ladies.
Absolutely.
So if we all admit, we feel better when we talk. We just do. When we're happy, we talk. When we're sad, when we're mad, I don't care what it is, we're full of emotion. Generally, women like to talk it out. It's how we feel our body, the pressure goes down. So what you need to do when you're not upset is to explain to the nice man in your life who you like each other or you love each other, in that you say, you know, there's times when I'm just going to be upset and I need to vent. And I'm really not going to be interested in a solution. I just need to vent. And I promise by venting and you listening, I am going to feel better. And I know that you want to help me feel better. So the way that you help me feel better is just to listen. And I'm going to let you know right before I start it, I just need to vent. And then I promise you, when I'm done, I'm going to say out loud, thank you. It made me feel better. So you'll know I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And look at you nodding, because men are like, when I have a woman do this, they're like,
yeah.
They don't believe it at first because that's never happened.
Right.
And then the woman gets to talk. He just nods and stares at her. We love it when you stare at us, give your undivided attention while we're venting. It's wonderful. It makes us feel extra. It's like the bonus. Don't look away. Don't get afraid. Just listen. And then we promise we're going to say, yeah, I do. I feel a lot better or somewhat better. Thank you. I mean, wow. So let's do the guy side. Because if a woman hasn't had that conversation with him, what is he going to do when she says blah, 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 blah?
Well, as I mentioned, there are three ways to not do it right, which is, to try and fix, to shut down, or to run away. The recognition is the answer is to stay present, to be present with her. So I wouldn't necessarily use the term stare, because when men hear the idea of stare, we're going to be like staring, boring into your soul. It's like, no, have a loving gaze, at least. Be looking at her, be witnessing her, and if you can keep eye contact, great. You don't have to, but at least keep present to her face, to what she's going through. Because first of all, when you tune into her, you'll get a lot more what's going on besides what she's saying. Because most women, frankly, will talk and talk and talk, but a lot of what they're actually communicating isn't in the words. It's their body posture and the way they feel and the emotions coming through. And you can serve her better by being receptive to all of that. Again, letting it through, not in. The challenge is, and this is the one thing I had to learn myself the hard way, because I had a real problem with this when I was younger, is if a woman get upset with me, I would take it personally. So I may not have given her an answer, but I would basically feel like I was this pit being filled up by her vitriol and upset. And I was taking on like it was my duty, which is not true. Now, the thing is, and I'm not getting into the nuances about right, wrong, and arguments, but the thing is that when I learned that all I have to do is almost be transparent to let it through that way, none of it sticks, none of it has to go in, none of it has to be taken personally. First of all, I feel way better. I can function. And secondly, I don't carry a lot of resentment, upset about her, because what happened is I get to witness. And what really happens, and this thing I've learned myself, is I become more caring. And this is a gift that we can give our women, especially when in a romantic relationship, is to recognize when she's upset. Our masculine, manly duty to be the tough guy means we protect her by letting her through us, by being concerned and caring for her, not to fix everything. Again, we're not solving the problems here. That comes afterwards, if necessary. But if we can just be in the place of holding the space for her and be present to what she's going through, and knowing it's not necessarily, even if it may be about us, it's not to us. So what I mean by that is that when a woman's upset, sometimes because we did something we didn't realize, we stepped on her toe without realizing it, and she got upset and let us know that. It isn't a place for us to start getting to one defensiveness, because that's dangerous. I've done that before. It doesn't work. Defensiveness sucks, because defensiveness just becomes a battle, which is just as bad as trying to fix her. Neither one of those works. So whatever's going on, you're not there to defend yourself or make points or make her feel like you're hard done by as well. So let it all through. Once she's complete, and it will happen at some point, she will be complete. You can then consider your response. Key question: consider before you do something, because a lot of times, and I've done this myself. There was so much like catapult pulling back the reaction that was going to spring load and then just zap it back at her. That just made it worse for both of us. So the point I'm saying is when it is complete and you've had a chance to watch it go through, you can then consider your response and then decide the value of it in terms of, will it add or will it detract from what you're doing? Because if it is additive, not to you, but to her, then it might be worth doing. But if you realize that you're going to respond, it's only going to make her feel worse. Why you want to do that?
Yeah.
So
many good points, Barry. Thank you. And yes, let's say she's got a bunch of things she's upset about you. And it is really hard not to take it personally. And I'll be honest, we probably do mean it personally as we're saying it. And that is the best advice, to just not take it personally. Because if you're a good guy, even if you go, really, that upset her? Or, oh, I guess that upset her. You didn't do it on purpose. That's the thing. This is when I let you off the hook of taking it personally. It's not that you aren't going to work on a solution with each other, but that's why you don't have to take it personally. You didn't do it on purpose. Because often good men they take responsibility. They're saying, gosh, I must have screwed up. And wow, now I feel like a bad person. But you didn't know better. You didn't know better. She didn't tell you, which happens a lot, or you misunderstood, or just stuff happens. It just does. So if you don't take it personally, you can stay much more in your masculine power, which is really good. And then when she says she feels better, or at least she's done talking, because men think, oh, she's never going to stop. We do. You don't interrupt. The thing that will guarantee we're going to keep talking is when you interrupt.
Yeah.
Then there's more. There's not only what we said, but now we're upset that you interrupted. And we have to talk about how we're upset that but we still haven't finished unloading what we were before. And I'm going to interject that if anybody on here has not seen the video, it's not about the nail. You have to go watch it. It is short, literally and figuratively, and to the point, this point that we're making. It is the perfect example of this in a very short time. So then what you could do is say, geez, what do you need differently? Or what could I do differently? Or are you in a space where I could explain what I didn't mean? I see that's but can I explain what I saw from my side? And we can be us ladies in our feelings can be much more logical if you have spent the time listening and just letting us vent. The volatility that was there at the beginning is lower.
Yeah.
And I'm going to suggest again, before you get to that place, if you could have some sort of a conversation ahead of time, I know we're going to someday have a disagreement, or, when we have in the past and it hasn't worked very well, could we try this thing and watch the video, our video right here together, and go, oh, I'm going to try this now. And could you do this part? And I'll do this part. And let's see if we can get good at it. Because everything just takes practice. Nobody's good at everything right away. But it's been amazing. And it's been amazing. The people I've taught this to, and sometimes I just teach the woman, and sometimes I just teach the man, and they still can have great success.
Oh, yeah.
If one of them will make this difference, you just need one person to step up and not keep feeding the fire.
Yeah, that's the lesson I've had to learn, because I spent my teens and early 20s, especially, actually probably into my 30s too, where I would be so defensive. And I'm sure men do the same thing, where the attack felt personal, like I had to defend myself. And so it felt like an attack on the barricades, and I had to put up my spear and be defensive and that sort of thing. So I wasn't being anywhere near as mature, for one thing, as I am now. But it's of understanding that it doesn't work, because all I'm doing is almost poking the bear. It's making it worse. And as most men know who've been around relationships with women, when a woman gets upset, when we make it worse, we know we made it worse. So the understanding that we can make it better by not changing anything, then in fact it's almost not up to us to make it better. This is the other part, by the way, because one of my default behaviors was to try and make things better for my woman, not realizing that I was making it worse. It's like, so it's the lesson was the more I can simply be still and hold space and to be a witness to her. So she knows I'm there, but I'm not trying to do anything to change her state. That gives her the space to let herself be free. And it sounds so easy because I'm not in that, but it is. And just to let anybody know who's watching this, it does take practice, and you may make mistakes. But the thing about it is, once you do it once, you start realizing it's so much easier ultimately. And when you get good at it, both of you have such a great release at this and so much more freedom, so you can be understanding and really caring. So it's vital.
It is. And what will happen is both of you will feel better at your relationship, because what happens is the man just keeps feeling bad. First, I have no idea that I did this, and I'm not even sure why it upset you, because I'm still not even hearing what I did and what I could do differently, because that never comes out in the first part. And then you just keep hearing more and more of how you screwed up, and more of how you were wrong. And that does not get you on our side ever.
No.
So that is really even more of an important part for you not to take it personally. For you to go, wow, I had no idea, and wow, and how would I have known, and wow, and yeah, she really is upset, and wow. And it is, because good men have this high integrity level of doing the right thing by us. It's very important to you. You have a high value to that. And when all you hear is you screwed up, that's just going to be demoralizing.
Absolutely. It's like, it feels like taking our kneecaps off. It's like,
It really
it's not fun.
is.
Yeah.
And
It's
if we
funny.
really want you to be different, this is not what's going to make you be different.
Indeed. Actually, I'm going to speak to that, because we started this piece of the conversation about how women get challenged or get upset by not being listened to, not being heard. For men, I would say the biggest thing is we don't get valued by our partners. And that's one of the biggest things, is that we have, and it's so interesting to watch, and I've been into it myself, is when my partner didn't notice something I'd done, or didn't value something I did, didn't tell me she cared about what I was doing. It feels deflating. It feels like I'm not loved in a way. So it's not so much that you don't listen to me, because that's not the same thing as when women need to be listened to. With much different paradigm, much more of a different paradigm. But for us men especially, the core value is being valued and being respected.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I am so guilty of that in the past. I was so grateful when I learned to notice and appreciate everything you all do, and I love teaching
Yep.
that. And the thing that we women do instead is we think we're being so helpful by telling you all the things you're doing wrong,
Mhm.
and why you should do it differently, without ever saying anything out loud that you do right.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
awful.
Yeah.
I watch it so much. And then I'll hear the man say, I can never make her happy. And she's so confused, because if I ask her, she could name all sorts of things to me that
Right.
he's done right, and that she loves about him. And I said, but do you ever? Well, no. Why? And then we women get all snooty about, well, nobody appreciates me. Well, if you want appreciation, then please ask. But the thing I've learned about appreciating men, this is the secret. I mean, really, it's the inside scoop. And I have this proven over and over, personally and professionally. Do one of these all day. Look at, gosh, I appreciate you coming home from work, and wow, you took care of the kids, or geez, you pick up your socks, and wow, you do the laundry, or, you, whatever it is he does. I know there's a whole list of stuff he doesn't do, but all the stuff he does, if you
Mhm.
say it, all of a sudden he's doing more things. All of a sudden he's asking, what could I do else? Because he likes the reward. So then
Absolutely.
men tell me, I'm as easy to train as a dog. And they tell me that. So I say it out loud, because it feels a little dismissive, but they tell me it's okay.
Right.
So I ask women, because lots of them have dogs. I say, how do you get your dog to behave? What do you do? Tell me honestly. I give them a treat. I give them all kinds of, if they go potty, or they, come when I call and they wait for me to, I said, do that. Every time a guy does something you like, say, good job. Good job. Give him a treat. Give him a kiss. Give him a hug. Really. And I've been had permission from men. So I'm saying this. I would never
Right.
have said this.
Yeah.
But you look like it's okay. And I don't want to be offensive, but if women would just get that, because I had a man say to me out loud once, he wishes that his wife was as nice to him as she is to her dog.
There you go.
And it
Yep.
made me really sad.
The piece on that, and the caveat on that, is there are some people, men and women, who don't necessarily train their dogs through treats and love and affection. They tend to train the dogs negatively, which explains why some of their relationships don't work so well.
There you go. That's true.
Just to be clear.
So the thing about it is, we demoralize men, we emasculate men by suggesting all the time these things they should do differently without asking them. Gosh, I'm so curious. Why do you do it that way? Because usually men are much better about paying attention to their use of their energy. They are very clear about the return on their time, money, and energy, way more than women. We exhaust ourselves without any idea of a return. You guys are careful about that. So if you're doing something a certain way, you've probably got a good reason. Now, we don't even have to agree ultimately with your reason. At least give them the benefit of the doubt to go, why? I'm so curious, not accusing, really curious. I'm so curious why you choose to do it this way or why you choose not to do it this way before you get upset with them. Because, oh my gosh, it's amazing how many times they go, really? Well, that's a really good reason. I hadn't thought about it that way.
But here's one more bonus point, one more bonus piece, such a thing
Yeah,
is when you see your man doing something, maybe you ask him to do it or he's doing it anyway, is rather than think he's doing it wrong, find out, as you said, find out why he's doing it that way, what's going on. If you see a way you can do it better, be willing to offer that as a bonus, not as a replacement. This is the shift.
Yes.
I'm saying you're doing it wrong, you should do it this way, saying that's great. But if you do it this way, maybe that'll be even better as an additive. So it's an encouragement because, again, we tend to thrive on the praise and the positive feedback. So if you give us a bonus to do it, then we're going to jump at it. Like you said, you train us that way. We are trainable that way. And the thing is, we obviously want to do things better to please you because, frankly, most men in a relationship want to please their women. So if you set things up so we can please you, we'll do it. And everybody wins.
Very much. So that's the perfect way to do that. And you say, I'm so curious why you do it that way. Because in your head, you're thinking you wouldn't do it that way. And he explains to you and you go, oh, wow, I can see why you would do it that way, why you thought of it. And wow, it would make my life even better and I'd be even happier is if you would change it this way. Who isn't? What good guy is not going to step up and go, I'm writing this down. I am doing it this way next time. This woman's going to be happier with me. And there might even be, I never thought about it. Guys are so much more receptive to this in this way. Because talk about taking it personally. Oh, us women are me. We get in our feelings and think people are being critical. And then we get all upset. And men feel dismissed and emasculated and hopeless eventually. We get mad and don't talk to people and get even when we feel upset and not listened to and not paying attention to and hurt. So the reactions are so different, but the ultimate outcome is we keep moving farther apart.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so when people start looking at their relationships in this different way of, well, maybe I'm not being quite as appreciative and maybe I'm being this helpful person that feels like criticism. I'm not sure I said that word. I'm going to make sure I say it. Every time we think we're being helpful, we women feel very, oh gosh, have you thought about this? And we think, oh, she cares. She's being helpful when we women are talking to each other. When you do this to a man, he feels criticized. That's the only word that's ever included in that. He doesn't feel helped. He doesn't feel cared about. He doesn't think you're smart because you've thought of this other thing. He thinks you think he's stupid.
Right.
And that's really sad because do you really want to be married to somebody that you think is stupid or he thinks you think he's stupid? So that's what this feels like. So you need to stop doing it this way, ladies. Stop.
Absolutely. I want to throw one thing in as well. Just we covered some big stuff here. I want to go back to one of the basic things because the title of the episode is Ways We Unintentionally Hurt Each Other. The thing is, for a lot of times, you may be unaware of that. So what we're speaking about so far are major power plays and powerful ways of being for men and for women, for each other, and support each other. But one of the things you can start this with to back it even further is if you're not sure why or how you hurt each other, you got to first of all set up a safe space to have the conversation. But when you have the conversation, ask what the person felt and what they didn't understand and what you missed. Because, like we're saying here, like if a woman doesn't understand a man needs to be praised or encouraged to do stuff, he may feel hurt, but she doesn't know why. She can ask him, and hopefully he's got the wherewithal to go, you know what? Is when you ask me to do that stuff, I feel like you've been demeaning me. You haven't let me be positive, that sort of thing. And vice versa with a woman, when a man doesn't know why she's upset in the first place, like, when he finds out from her, it's like he doesn't give her space to talk. He just interrupts her or has to fix things. It's the way you communicate in that conversation alone, which can change things as well. Because the challenge is when we discover things we didn't like the other person doing, we tend to get more reactive to it versus being able to respond in a way that is compassionate because we may not realize they didn't know better. The teaching point I always talk about is like when we know better, we tend to do better. It's when we know better, we don't do better, something's off there. So in conversation in relationships, it's oftentimes your role as in partners to be the educational additive to your partner. Both of you do it to each other. Not like one's better than the other, but both are. So you can learn, oh, this will be better for our relationship if I do this instead, or I don't do that. And we can do it from a place of constructive discussion and intimacy that creates more connection in the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've mentioned before that one of the things I do with couples is I teach them how to every week,
Yes.
they have an appointment with each other, to have the state of the relationship conversation. And you start out with what went right. What did somebody, oh, you remembered, or wow, I really liked that. I mean, isn't that a nice way to make sure you're going to get compliments and appreciation back? And then, there was this thing and I didn't do this well, or I really need you to do this differently. And it really hurt my feelings. Or, geez, do you understand what happens when you do it this way? And you've structured this. So this is the laboratory. This is not the time to yell and scream. This is not, but what's really great is that often when we are really upset as women, it's what you did 6 months ago and we've been harboring it. Where if you stay current every week, because everybody's like, why do we do it every week? Well, because then it doesn't turn into this huge thing. And isn't that better? Nobody likes the huge thing. And you've got a space where you bring this. This is the place. And so I do it with them the first few times, and then they get good at doing it on their own. Because what ultimately has happened is they've had a number of weeks in a row when it's only positive stuff. Wow, look at the thing you remembered to do. And wow, I was really proud of myself. I remembered to do this time because we've been practicing on that. And then how great is that at the end of that conversation where you've just been appreciating yourself and being appreciated by the other person and solidifying that you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because otherwise people go, well, who wants to have that conversation? And it's just going to get hard. Well, then it just gets harder.
Right.
So it's a very honoring way to wrap these pieces that we're saying up together in a nice, regular cleaning out time, reaffirming time, adding more of, yeah, now do this. We're going to do this even better the next time because we're going to catch it sooner, or have like a safe word or emotion or something. I mean, I've had couples come up with more stuff than I've ever thought of because I just give them tools and then they go off and customize it, which is kind of fun to hear back about what the heck they do now.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I mean, this is what we're teaching, and not like the rules of the road, but they're a good foundation to build on. But the fun part is when you start creating your own routines, your own methods, your own approaches that take this to another level, because this is all just, foundational. But once you get this, you get to play with it. That's half the fun of this work, is that you really start to have an exploration for another level. And the idea of having weekly meetings, I agree with you, absolutely, is a wonderful thing to have. And yes, because again, we thrive from positive feedback. Both of us do. So to make the conversation start with, what all the things you did well. And then the key thing is not what you did wrong, but where there's room for improvement or refinement or tweaking or adjusting, whatever word you want to use, that makes it clear that what you're looking for is how to make all of the stuff in a relationship work great. Not it's like it's all great except cliff down and deep dive into this negative thing, like this is bad, this is horrible, this is, that sort of thing. Because some people do that. You did this, you did this, you did this, but boy, this was so bad. No, not like that. I mean, now we're talking about something where your partner cheated on you or something else. That's a different story. But in basic everyday life in a relationship, there are little things in the relationship that can be refined. Maybe it's like, your partner forgot to take out the trash one day that week. That's not the end of the world, unless you make it so. But you can make it where it's just simply, oh, by the way, this was great. This was great. You took care of this, took care of the kids, took care of the bills and that sort of stuff. And by the way, the trash, didn't go out last week. If you can take care of it, I would really appreciate it. So it's very light, but very clear. So the person can go, oh yeah, I can fix that. So it's the way you communicate with each other. And yeah, I mean, it sounds so simple, but boy, we forget how to communicate consciously in relationships so easily. We get into default behavior, and we get to, frankly, treat our partners a lot less than we like, a lot less well than we treat our friends. So making a conscious effort, choosing to have the relationship be of value to both of you, and to make learning about each other a priority is a great way to reduce the hurt you have with each other.
Yes. So another thing I love to suggest that if you go look up the 5 love languages, it takes you 10 minutes to take the quiz. It'll tell you who you are. It's kind of fun to see who the other people in your life are. how we unintentionally hurt each other is that whatever we like to receive, whether it's acts of service or gifts or physical touch or quality time or words of appreciation, we are really good at doing that for other
Yes.
people because we like it back.
Right.
And if it's not the way that they feel loved and cared about, and you just keep doing yours, they feel hurt. They don't feel cared about. They're like, well, why don't you do this? Because it's not our way.
Right.
So if you don't tell us this is the way that I feel loved and cared about, or if we don't ask the other person how they feel loved and cared about, we keep hurting each other so intentionally because we're doing this thing that we would love, and that maybe they're not doing it back to us because it's not their thing. So we're completely missing when we're trying really hard. We think, I am giving my all in this way. Why don't they feel appreciated? Why are they always asking for something else? And
Right.
then we feel hurt too because we're not feeling received for all the effort we're making, and our efforts falling flat with them. So there's another teeny little extra thing. Just do this, and it could make such a difference in your relationship.
Oh, yeah. It's a game changer for some people's relationship because they didn't realize that the way they're communicating their love to their partner isn't being received. It's like talking two different languages.
Yeah.
So to have that willingness to find out what your partner's love language is and then learn it, because the other part is not just know what it is, but how do you reach them on that level, transforms your relationship. It's a game changer for so many people. So yeah, that's a great one to add in there.
So another way I felt like, is this really unintentional? And I've heard a number of people do it that I really don't think they meant it intentionally, but to badmouth your partner to somebody else.
Oof. Yeah.
Period. Whether they're there or not, because now the other person has this bad image about them, which is really hard when you break up with somebody and then you get back with them and all your friends are now mad at them because they're not back in love with them. The really bad thing is when I see them do it in front of them. They'll say something dismissive, like, oh my God, how many times have you told that story? Or, geez, do you know that he or they forgot to do blah, blah, blah in front of other people? That is so wrong on every level. There's never a good reason to, can you tell I have such a soap? Never, ever, 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 ever is there a good reason to do this, ever.
Absolutely. No.
And then there's times when the other person's like, I didn't even know.
This is the thing.
Really bad.
Yeah, that's one reason why the weekly check-ins are so important. But secondly, it's about being conscious. The thing about unintentional is usually it's unconscious. So if we take the word unintentional and make it intentional, as in make it conscious, we choose what we're doing. Yeah. Maybe we'll choose not to do that anymore because we start realizing what we're doing in front of other people or in front of whoever. Do you really want to do that? Even if you don't have the best relationship at the moment, you used to have one ideally. So maybe you want to let them off the hook to a degree and be more compassionate enough with them. Say, let's take this off the table and make it take this private, because frankly, it doesn't. Other people don't need to hear what's going on. I mean, if you're working with a therapist, that's a different story. Of course, that's in confidentiality, different situation entirely. But the thing is, in public, it's like if you're doing that, you need some serious support. You need some serious help because you're definitely not conscious or aware or present to what you're actually doing damage-wise to your partner.
I tell my female clients, especially, there's so many good reasons to coach with me. And the bad reason is you're going to notice women's bad behavior, that you're going to notice yours. It's difficult. It's difficult to spend time in groups of people generally for me because I watch the emotional blows, and men and women both do it. They both do it. Maybe I'm more sensitive that I get embarrassed that women do it so often. It's horrible how people can treat each other, somebody you supposedly like or are married to, period. I mean, I think how awful if they do this in private and that they do it in public. So I want you to know there's a caveat to learning this. I mean, it's going to make you better in your relationship and your relationship better, but you're going to walk around going, a lot.
So to quote Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Because that's the thing is,
I mean, you quote Spider-Man. I think that's cool.
I'm a Marvel fan, a science fiction fan. But the thing I want to say is that it is true. I mean, and to be bluntly and transparent, as I said before in another episode, I'm currently dating and checking and meeting people, and when I meet somebody who has that sort of unconscious reactivity to things, it's definitely not an unsexy thing. So if you are single and you want to have a better relationship or a future relationship with somebody, you want to be willing to look at your own self in the mirror and listen to what you say in public, because then you'll notice where maybe you're off track and you can do some resolution. And I know we're both going to offer our services, but if that's something you're aware of, stay tuned. We've got some answers for you.
Yeah. Because, and then the thing that happens too, that I've noticed that I used to do and don't anymore, but watch women do, is that we feed off of each other. So we say something negative. Oh yeah, men do that. And oh yeah, and I've had 3 people do that. If we think we want to fall in love with a man, or we want to fall back in love with a man, that kind of conversation is just going to put that farther away.
Absolutely. And you don't want that.
You won't be attracted to, and you won't attract a good guy if you think all men are shitty. I mean, that just can't happen.
That's a whole other topic we can get into another time.
Yeah. So being more conscious, that's what this talk is about. I love that you brought that up, because we get a pass that we've been unconscious till now. As Maya Angelou said, we did best then what we knew, and now that we know better, we do better. Barry quoted her. So be aware. Watch how you feel. Watch how other people are reacting. Just be more conscious of, wow, I think I might be doing this. And wow, I've said some of the things I've heard, and maybe I really do need to do some work on it, because it's empowering to learn this skill for both men and women.
Absolutely.
We just feel like better people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Barry and I can help you with that.
Indeed.
That? Indeed we can.
How can they reach you?
They can reach me through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. And you can click on what's holding you back from love and schedule a complimentary conversation with me. You can also join my email list, and you'll get a repeat of this podcast that you can listen to or share with your friends. And you can also stay up on new things that I've been sending out. My classes started this week, and this is very exciting. And you can also, super fun. And you can go to the bottom of the homepage and click on all my social media, Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube. We have 150 podcasts now. It's very exciting.
Very exciting indeed.
And people have been telling me they've been binging. They're binging on us, Barry.
I love it.
I know.
Oh, cool.
So tell people how to get a hold of you.
Similarly to Christine, I have a website and also social media, but my website is my name, which is barryselby.com. On the homepage of my website, you can still, or it's going to change when my site gets finally released. It's getting closer and closer. Every week it's getting closer. So fingers crossed to be soon. But even so, you can click on the link at the top of the screen. There's a button there that takes you next step, which is it's a link to my calendar. So you can get a session with me, which is a test drive, and also a discovery session. So we can see where we are, where you are, and if you need some help, and if I can help you. It's very simple, very clean. At the bottom of the homepage, there is a link to be on my email list, because similarly to Christine, I send out emails every week with everything that's going on, and also with replays of the show. So if you'd missed the show live broadcast, you can watch the replay link in there. And for those on my email list, I will send out the link to the nail in the head piece, because that's a really good video to watch as well, because definitely that was a great thing to bring up. Thanks for the reminder. My social media is all my name, basically, except for Instagram. So it's Barry Selby on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter /X, on Threads, on Pinterest, and on Instagram, it's the real Barry Selby. My account has to get changed. So you find my social media. My website will have my social media links at the bottom when it comes up. So just like you, I'm getting that set up as well, because it's a great idea. And as Christine said, this is also on podcast platforms. So if you're watching us on live on Facebook or YouTube, great. But if you want to take us with you, you can listen to it on audio format on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Microsoft or Amazon, whichever platform you listen to your podcasts on. You'll find us there. So definitely check us out in video and audio formats.
And it turns out there's no apostrophe.
There's no apostrophe?
Let's talk dating. It doesn't have an apostrophe. It was a new thing for me to learn when people go, I can't find it. And I looked it up. I went, oh, there's no apostrophe.
Yeah,
we should get like I do.
Well, the problem is it's hard to change it, because once it's in, it's kind of like cast in stone. So it may be stuck away. Bottom line is you can find it by a name.
It's how I spell, so it works really well, because I'm such a bad So we'll be back next week. We're always
indeed.
here at 1:00 Pacific and 4:00 Eastern and all the times in between. You can watch us live. You can watch us replay, share us with your friends, like our podcasts, share them, subscribe. We'd be so excited to hear what you think we should be talking about or what you liked about what we did talk about. We love comments. We read all of them always.
Absolutely.
And we will see you next week.
Take care of yourselves.
Bye for now.